Hello and welcome back to the WT40K Podcast. I'm Si.
And I'm Jay, and today we are going to be talking about the Primarchs.
Yes, believe it or not, 40,000 years in the future, that local shopping store is still alive and kicking, still doing discounted body armor and stuff like that. That's correct, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's not that. It's not that
Sorry?
at all. So Primarchs are demigod leaders of Space Marines, is basically what they are. Like on a power scale, Emperor, next step down Primarchs, next step down Custodes, next step down Space Marines. So they are the daddies.
They're the sunnies. They're the, if you listen to the last episode, the God Emperor himself wanted kids, and they're sort of his, they're not his kids, but they're sort of his kids.
Yeah.
These are the ones that got flung across space.
Yeah, end of the Unification Wars, Thunder Warriors didn't work anymore, wanted to go whole ham on Space Marines, made these dudes. Slashing and dashing, DNA, genetics, a little bit of warp deals, spiciness weaved over the top of it. And then basically the reason that they got yeeted everywhere is the Emperor made a deal with the Chaos Gods to infuse them, to help provide them with powers and different bits and bobs. And then being the Emperor, he then went back on that deal. So it's reported that due to some like time travel shenanigans, time ran out where the Emperor went back on the deal. So the Chaos Gods were like, no, screw you, we'll go back in time and then yeet your sons everywhere, which is why they did it.
Nice.
And also, for the note, they can't make them anymore because the chick, Amara Starte, who was involved in it, in making them, destroyed all of her research. So no more Primarchs.
Why did she do that?
So after they got yeeted everywhere, the Space Marines that they made using the Primarchs DNA, it was immature because they were babies, obviously. So they were way weaker than they thought they were going to be and kind of unstable. So she thought the whole project had failed. So there was a big coup on the palace. During that coup, she used it as a distraction to destroy all her notes and stuff.
What a dick.
Got a shot in the face for it as well, so good.
Oh, fair play. So that is Astartes, where the Space Marine Astartes comes from as well.
Yes.
So she's a lab tech that helped bioengineer these 7-foot motherfuckers. Yeah. Okay, so the Primarchs, not the shop, but the Emperor's sort of semi-sons.
Yes. So
nailed it.
Wolf,
episode over. Finite.
Done.
Thanks for listening.
There we go. Cheers, guys.
Right. So let's start with how many of these Primarchs there was.
Yeah, so it depends if you want to be hunted by the Inquisition. There are 18 Primarchs. There were 20. We will talk about why there is only 18 and why there was 20 as we go through it. But the first one, so the first Legion is the Dark Angels.
Numero uno, Dark Angel.
Numero uno. And their Primarch is a guy called Lion L. Johnson.
Great name.
Yeah, fantastic name. You can tell, when you look at all these names, you can tell all these names were written in like the 80s because they've all got weird pop culture references to people and things. But anyway, Lion L. Johnson, in my mind, can be viewed as like the multi-tool of the Primarchs.
Are you saying Lionel Johnson is based off Lionel Richie?
Might be.
Okay. Is it him you're looking for? Right, so so he is, as you just said, they're the most versatile.
Yeah, so he is a bit of the multi-tool. So he landed, his pod, when it got yeeted, landed on a planet called Caliban, which is a feudal forest world.
Feudally, like medievally.
Exactly, medievally.
Like
knights on
knights.
horseback, all that,
That's
King Arthur,
cool.
Knights of the Round Table, shenanigans.
Yeah,
so a feudal forest world is where he landed. Quite close to the Eye of Terror, a big angry warp portal. So as a result, the whole planet was tainted by warp-infused monsters. All over the forest, everything was infested with this warp-infused wildlife and beasties.
What would a warp-infused squirrel look like?
Exactly, yeah. Massive teeth.
Someone's going to have to Google that.
But still the size of a squirrel. It'd be hilarious.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like cute, but oh my god, there's 17 of them crawling up my pants.
But that is where Lionel Johnson landed, in that forest, away from all civilization, away from people. And he spent 10 years just randomly wandering around the forest that's filled with angry chaos squirrels.
The squirrel that got into your head now, aren't they? They just want your nuts. But what I'm saying is, so he landed as a baby. He was a baby.
Yeah, as a baby.
Straight into the forest.
Yeah, but Primarchs don't grow like normal humans grow, because they're not normal humans. So they grow.
It's penis first, isn't it? Oh no, they just have a mass. They grow a massive penis, and then their body grows into it.
Yeah, basically, it's like a sleeping bag, basically. No, but there's lots of accounts where at a year old, Primarchs are 6 foot tall at a year.
That's
old.
stupid.
They're like bigger than a normal person would be at a year old.
But have they got the brain capacity for that, or are they just these 6 foot things that can't quite walk right, and they can't put those little shaped blocks in the right thing? Yeah,
that would be funnier if
they were dealing with that.
Tall babies, but no, they're not. No, they have the cerebral growth to match, so they just grow really, really quickly.
Penis first.
Yeah. So he, after 10 years of just cutting his way through the forest, you can imagine, he was probably really vulnerable for like 30 days, and then after that he could kick everything to ass.
Yeah.
So
he was eventually squirrels and bears and that.
Yeah. He was eventually found by some knights who were out on a monster hunt, because that's normal. And they almost attacked him out of fear because of how big he was. That gives you a sense of size and scale. They thought it was some kind of weird.
So these badass monster hunting knights shit their pants over this essentially 10-year-old child.
Yeah, I nearly killed him. So the leader of that group of knights is a guy called Luther. He will become really important in the future. But a guy called Luther, he managed to convince the 10-year-old Lionel Johnson to come back with them. And then he kind of took him in, and they kind of raised him within their knightly order. Predictably, given his strength and intelligence and all of his other Primarch shenanigans, he skyrocketed through the kind of ranks of society.
Yeah.
And Caliban was organised into like little fiefs, little towns akin to kind of medieval terror.
Yeah.
And after building enough influence and fame, he then started to unite those other knightly orders. So it was, it was broken up. It wasn't just like one massive knightly army. It was like little small towns and villages that all had their own knightly orders.
Yeah, like it used to be.
Yeah, exactly. He decided he was going to unite all them with the overall goal of cleansing the planet of all these mad, angry chaos squirrels.
I mean, it makes sense.
Squirrels are in their head now.
Yeah.
So, which he did. Took him 10 years, but he did it. And then after he did it, they basically promoted him to Grand Master of the Knightly Orders and effectively made him the planetary leader. Which is kind of cool for a 20-year-old.
Not a bad gig, is it? What was the pay like?
No, he's done all right. He's done all right.
Yeah.
And it was at that point when the Emperor arrived. So he turned up. There's loads and loads of ways and means. The Emperor's off on his Grand Crusade, as we talked about in the last episode. But he's listening out all the time for any rumours or any myths or whatever it might be that kind of might not really be human and kind of sound ridiculous, because for him, if it sounds ridiculous, it's probably one of his sons. That's kind of his logic.
Because in the last episode, we obviously said they were yeeted across, and then he went out on his Grand Crusade also looking for his children. Yeah,
side quest was find his kids.
Yeah.
Don't want to, doesn't want to get smashed with that CSA payment, so find his kids, unite the galaxy. Just a usual Tuesday for the Emperor.
Standard day, yeah.
So he turned up. Al Johnson swore filthy without much fuss, really. He kind of really didn't recognise him in person, but kind of recognised his stature and recognised also that this guy's probably my dad, because I'm ginormous and he's ginormous.
It's odd, isn't it? So, some geezer comes down you never met, goes, I'm your dad. And you go, yeah, you're my dad. That's it.
Yeah, but if you're like 9 foot tall and the guy that's turned up telling you that he's your dad is 12 foot tall and is wearing all this mental armour and stuff, you probably think, yeah, he probably is actually.
Yeah, but what about the whole, where have you been, you prick?
Yeah, true. I mean, that does come with some of them, but yeah, you are absolutely right.
Did the Emperor nip off to get some milk and cigarettes and never come back?
Yeah, get some space milk.
Yeah. Dread to think what space milk is, actually. That doesn't sound good, does it?
So anyway, after he got picked up, he got reunited, or not reunited, got united with his legion, of First Legion, Dark Angels.
Dark Angels, yeah.
Dark Angels, they weren't called the Dark Angels at this point, they were just the First Legion, but they were smashing it. Like on the crusade with the Emperor loved them, he used them all the time, they were super effective. So because of that, this dude turns up they weren't overly happy. They genuinely didn't take to his leadership very well.
Right, yeah. Well, if someone gets thrown into leadership, usually you think they're a dick, don't you? It's like when you get a new manager and work in it. It could go one or two ways, really. You're either going to get on, or you're just going to think, oh, God, it's just got 20% worse. Because work's always 80% bad.
And I think that was genuinely how they thought. They were like, look, we're doing fine. We don't need you. Who's this guy type sketch.
Who's this geezer?
So to fix this, gives you kind of an insight into the mindset of Lionel Johnson. To fix this, the Lion decided what he was going to do is seek out and duel every company commander he could find. Bear in mind, a Legion at this point was it's not 1,000 Space Marines like a chapter. The Legions were ginormous. You know, they were 10,000 strong. So him going and picking fights with all of the company commanders, that's a lot of duels he's fighting.
A lot of fighting. Because if the necklace of chaos infused squirrel heads weren't enough hanging off him, he had to go and fight all these dudes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Famously, kind of the most iconic of those duels, he fought a Space Marine captain in Terminator armor.
Big
whilst
armor.
He was only wearing a robe.
Was it an armoured robe, though?
No, it was just a robe. Like, he got out of a spa and then
Had a
fought
fight.
a Terminator captain.
Did the robe stay on? That's the important question.
Yeah, I don't know.
Let's see. Is that in the law? Was he?
No, but maybe it should be. We'll jump on the wiki afterwards and we'll update that.
Because if it is a staying on robe, and we're talking 40k here, it's a lot of years in the future, but people will want the technology for that.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, I step out of the shower, take one step, and mine falls off.
Yeah,
it's not a great sight.
Though, that's why.
It's not a great sight.
So overall, his brothers kind of found him a little bit irritating and arrogant, which is probably true, and can probably understand it, given that Lionel Johnson and the Dark Angels don't really have any weaknesses. They probably are going to be arrogant if you're just good at everything, because they can do, and the Lion can do everything well. Doesn't excel at anything, but he's just good.
Jack of all trades.
Absolutely, jack of all trades, master of none. He's he's a good leader. He's a good swordsman. He's a good strategist. He's just good at everything, but not the best at anything.
See why they hated him though?
Yeah.
Don't you hate people that end up being good at everything? So annoying.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
He's
so good at everything.
I bet you can't draw. Oh, he can. I bet you can't sing. Oh, he can. I bet you can't do that. You know what, mate? You don't want to talk to him.
Yeah. So that's Lionel Johnson, and that is the First Legion.
Yeah, that's the Dark Angels, Legion numero uno.
Yeah.
So who's next?
Number 2, the Second Legion.
Yeah.
Redacted.
Oh.
The Second Legion don't exist.
Why?
No, they don't exist. I value my life.
Oh.
So there are 2 legions, the 2nd and 11th, and the only evidence.
Say, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
You're going to say 11th.
The only evidence that they exist are empty plinths in a hall on Terra that's got statues of all the Primarchs. That's it. Everything else destroyed and redacted. We know nothing.
So they would have had statues, I assume, on them.
Yeah.
At some point.
Maybe.
But someone's...
Or they were made... Well, they wouldn't have had statues because he wouldn't have known what they looked like. Well, maybe he did because he would have found them. I don't know. We don't know. So there's 2 views to this. There isn't loads in the lore. There's a little bit of different bits and bobs. The first is the non-lore perspective is Games Workshop just made 2 legions so that the fans could make up their own.
And then put them in as that. Yeah.
Yeah. So you could go homebrew legion and just make up your own.
Yeah.
Which, when they started, that might be the thing. Maybe they just ran out of ideas when they were doing it all and just went, we've got 2 left. What do we do with these? And we'll just go, screw it. We'll just say redacted.
Yeah, but why wouldn't you do it in order? You'd just say there was 18. You wouldn't say there's 20, but 2 and 11 are missing. You'd be like, what?
Yeah.
Say there's 18.
But as time has gone on, there's loads and loads of little kind of lines of text in books and different things that's given us a little bit more skin on the bone. And the general consensus is that the 2nd and 11th Primarchs were killed by Leman Russ, your mate in the Space Wolves.
Oh, that's a thing, yeah. That we're just so I've taken a short amount of time compared to you. We do have our favourites, but
yes,
but we'll tell them. Yeah, we'll say it when
as we come. Yeah. As we come. Yeah. But yeah, so let's just jump to the third.
Okay, so two gone, 3 in.
2 gone. Third Legion, the Emperor's Children. Primarch was Fulgrim. Fulgrim is the perfectionist.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he landed on a planet called Chemos, which is a resource-poor mining world. Terrible combination. Like, if you're a mining world, and you're resource-poor, that's not a good combo.
I mean, you are digging for days.
Yeah.
Why even mine?
Yeah, I know. It was bleak. It was unforgiving. The planet was a shithole. It was cloaked in a nebula dust cloud. The people had to work every hour of the day to maintain these things called vapor mines and synthesizers so they could breathe. That basically the planet and the population were just dying really, really slowly.
Not being funny, Jay, but that sounds absolutely dog shit.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a great planet to start on.
No, not at all. They didn't have enough resources to trade, which meant that work was basically everything. Recreation, art, leisure were all fallen by the wayside as a result of the fact that work was everything. Just sounds like the UK at the moment, really. But
it does a little bit, yeah.
It does. But yeah, so Fulgrim is massively into art, recreation, and leisure, probably because he grew up on a planet where he didn't have any of that. So it probably increased his desire to embrace that side of life because he didn't have it growing up.
I suppose, yeah, you're right there, because I didn't have much when I was a kid. Like, all my mates had computers and that. I didn't. And then as soon as I started earning for myself, turned into a massive nerd. Computers and that.
Yeah, exactly.
You want what you can't have.
Yeah, true. So he was found by some planetary police officers. And despite orphans normally being killed on the planet because there's another mouth to feed, there's not enough food, blah, 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 they begged for him to be saved. Do you know why?
No.
Because he was strikingly beautiful. Apparently, that's what the law says. They saved a baby because it was pretty.
That is moving on.
Yeah, a bit weird. So he was spared as a result of being pretty and raised by one of his rescuers. Again, he grew like Primarchs grew. He was, grew really quickly, really intelligent, all the usual stuff. And by the time he was 15, he'd kind of risen from being a labourer working in the mines to an executive governing an entire fortress factory. Pretty cool. Not quite as cool as cleansing an entire planet, but he did all right.
Yeah, he did all right for himself.
From there, at 15, he decided that he was going to try and save the people of Chemos, and they ventured out into the waste to try and repair some of the old and forgotten outposts that were kind of just sat in ruin. As a result, massively improved efficiency and outputs, and the planet's industry grew to the point where it was actually starting to produce surpluses now and could trade, and everything was starting to get a little bit better. So they made Fulgrim king of Chemos, planetary governor. And then as a result, he then started to reintroduce kind of culture and art and stuff because there was time now because people didn't have to work every hour that got sent.
So we landed in a shithole and he made it better so then people can start doing stuff.
And it's a good measure. Lion did the same, Fulgrim did the same. You'll see a theme as we go through all of them, but they've got you can see that they were genetically engineered to have that mindset of building something.
Yeah.
Like whether that is a planet, a culture, whatever it might be, they've got that innate leadership in them to take something and make it better, which which you would build in. The Emperor went full cheat character creating mode when he made the Primarchs and gave them all kind of nuanced specialisms and made them good at certain things because they were all, as will become apparent as we go through, they are tools in his toolbox.
Yeah.
We call them sons, but he very much views them as tools. So each of them were a tool for a job, and they kind of grew into that genetically modified personality, and it kind of demonstrates who kind of gives them a line for who they're going to be. So when the Emperor finally found him, Fulgrim did not say a word. He immediately dropped to his knees and offered his service. So he was absolutely dumbfounded. Yeah, the Emperor turned up with a load of Space Marines and stuff, and Fulgrim and the people of Chemos had never seen anything like it. They'd never seen ships like that. They'd never seen armor and weapons like that. Everything. You've seen the photos of the pictures and artwork of the Emperor in this golden armor. You're talking about someone who loves art and the kind of luxuries and the perfectionism of everything. He saw that golden god and just immediately dropped to his knees and swore filthy. Crazy. So,
oh dear.
Emperor took him, really united with him with his legion, and they were way smaller than all the other ones. Like, there was 200 left of the Emperor's children. They'd suffered a mad genetic infection, which was killing loads of them off. And because they didn't have access to his DNA to stabilize them, that they couldn't cure this weird viral infection that was killing them off. So him coming back kind of saved them, but there was, like I said, only about 200 of his guys left. As a result, he had this weird obsession with being perfect. At his absolute best, he excelled at getting the most out of anybody he commanded, but at his worst, he took the Emperor's vision and like cranked it to 11. He was just constantly seeking out perfection in everything him and his legion were doing, kind of no matter the cost. So he'd make some really bad tactical decisions to deliver on what he viewed as kind of perfection.
Wow. Okay, that can lead to the bad shit.
Yeah, so we
blindsided by your own perfection.
Yeah, it's just not a great combo. Not in the body and mind of somebody that powerful. Having that kind of obsession with perfectionism and pursuing perfection is not great. Yeah, so that is the Third Legion, the Emperor's Children, and Fulgrim.
It's a weird name, Emperor's Children, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I know people say that they're not really his kids, and yet they call them the Emperor's Children.
Yeah, so that all comes down to his Fulgrim's pursuit of perfection. He was like, he wanted his legion to be viewed as the children of the Emperor because they were that close to his kind of levels of perfection. So that's where he got the name from.
Oh, he sounds like a knob.
He does sound like a knob.
He does, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's got like really, he is a knob.
He does sound like a knob.
The guy's a knob. He's a teacher's pet.
There we go. Knob. So, number 3, Emperor's Children, knob.
Knob. Yeah, just write that down. Knob. Or draw a picture.
It's in my notes.
Yeah. Number 4, Fourth Legion became the Iron Warriors, and their Primarch is Perturabo, or Peter Turbo, as people call him, because Perturabo is quite hard to say.
Peter Turbo is better. Yeah.
Yeah. The Siege Master is kind of his shtick. So he landed on a planet called Olympia in the mountains, far away from any settlements.
Sounds cool. Sounds Greeky.
He was only there for about a year, and in that time he grew massively, like they all do. So he's a giant of a man.
Yeah.
Before he started kind of exploring a little bit more, and then as a result he became known as this mythical wanderer who slays all the dangerous beasties that lived up in the mountains by the population. So he was kind of, he didn't interact massively with the population initially, he kind of stayed away, and that's how he got this weird reputation as kind of a mythical wanderer, a little bit like Father Christmas, you know, the myth of a guy dressed like this, delivering this, doing this. He was a myth in the mountains.
So he stayed out of it.
Yeah, he got caught out a little bit. He was wandering a little bit too far from the mountains, and he was eventually found and adopted by a city leader who immediately realised this kid is not normal, because he's not very old, but he's ginormous. So he took him in, realising he's not normal, and absolutely doted on him. Gave him all of the love and care that a father, an adoptive father, could give. The whole family absolutely doted on him. But Peter Turbo refused to grow close to the family. He kept them all at arm's length, except his adopted sister, which is a little bit, no step bro, it's a bit weird. But for some reason, the only person he allowed himself to grow close to was his adopted sister. Everybody else he wasn't interested in.
Weird.
Yeah, really weird.
Guy's clearly been on Pornhub.
Yeah. Over the years, he kind of got dragged in to lead his father's armies, conquering other fortified castles. But his reason for going along wasn't because, I'm helping out my adopted dad and this is great. He went along because he wanted to experience siegecraft and warfare That's it. That his whole motivator was, I think I just want to see this probably.
Yeah, you've got to be into Summit though, haven't you? Apart from your stepsister.
So his sole motivation for going along was just to learn. He wasn't really interested in helping his adopted father at all. So it's around this time when the Emperor appeared, and Peter Turbo just dumped his adopted family without a second thought. He just left them, like whatever. Yeah, you people are not my people, and he just immediately left. No ceremony, nothing. Like the minute the Emperor kind of said who he was, Peter Turbo was like, "Yeah, screw you guys, I'm out."
Oh well, thanks, nice guy.
Yeah, savage. So he took over his legion and was just as ruthless and savage with them as he was with everybody else. So he looked back at their history, because obviously his legion had been off fighting in the Great Crusade without him for the Emperor. So he looked back at their kind of history and the battles they've been involved in campaigns, and was hugely unimpressed. Because proper disappointed dad kind of look. So he decided that as punishment, he was going to subject his legion to something called decimation.
Well, that doesn't sound great.
It doesn't. No, it doesn't.
No.
So it's not quite as bad. It's not on the scale that you think decimation would be, because decimation sounds like you're killing loads of people, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, pretty much everything. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not. But the way that he did it is kind of worse. So basically, 1 in every 10 legionnaires, so 1 in every 10 Space Marines, was selected by lottery. If you were the person selected out of that 10, the other 9 would beat you to death.
Okay.
So that was his solution to, you guys haven't really done a great job. Maybe I should get 9 of you to beat the 10th to death with their bare hands.
I mean, I thought the other guy was a dick, but
yeah. And the worst thing is, as well, he didn't just do this once. This wasn't like because he's just taken over. You talked about a new boss coming in and making things worse. This guy but he did this multiple times over the decades to come. Every time, in his mind, the Legion failed to meet his standards, he got him to beat each other to death by fucking lottery.
This guy's the epitome of a bad boss, isn't he?
Yeah. So his kind of reputation, unfortunately, he huge talent and huge ability, Peter Turbo. His mind for warfare and his understanding of warfare. Horace is quoted to say that it's basically that Peter Turbo is second only to him in terms of his view of warfare. He's really, really, really talented and could have been an incredible leader. But the problem is he just wouldn't get out of his own way at all. He was so petty and so jealous and such a kind of self-importance. It was just weird. He just wasted so much of his energy and thoughts thinking about how unfairly he was being treated. He just wasted it. He's just a whiny dude.
He's a whiny little bitch that makes people fight each other and beat one to death.
Yeah, he still performed. He absolutely, over the course of the Crusade, his Legion still performed, and he still performed, and that's great.
How was an uprising?
Yeah,
if you were his lads, you wouldn't sit back and constantly watch your mates get twatted, would you? You'd be like, "Oh, enough's enough. Someone's going to try and take him on."
Yeah,
you know what I mean,
it's a whole galaxy of daddy issues, though, isn't it? So
yeah, that's true.
But Peter Turbo is a textbook example of like stuffing your emotions in a pothole and not dealing with your issues and just letting it make you bitter and twisted.
Well, as guys, we do it.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. So Peter.
So or Perturabo, as we'll call him properly.
Okay.
5th Legion.
Number 5.
The White Scars.
Ah, yes.
The White Scars.
They are the lightning bolt, red lightning.
Yeah.
Bolt.
Yeah. Primarch Jagatai Khan, who I've coined the Speed Freak.
Yes. They like fast stuff, right?
They do, yeah. But not like the orcs like fast stuff. It's a different kind of thing. I'll explain. Yeah. He basically crashed on a planet called Chagorus. He got quite lucky with Chagorus. Do you want to try and say it?
Chagorus?
Yeah. It's close to a paradise. It had wide, sweeping plains, stunning mountain ranges, deep blue oceans. It kind of looked, comparatively to what we've seen so far, you had Lionel Johnson, horrible Death Forest.
Yeah.
You had bleak and cloud-covered mining worlds, and it's just horrendous stuff. This guy landed effectively in wide-sweeping plains, stunning mountains, and deep blue oceans. Everything was great.
So he was on the holiday planet.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
The population of Jaguaris are organised into like nomadic tribes, akin to the Mongols of ancient Terra.
Yes.
So think
clues in the name. What's his name again?
Genghis.
No, Jagatai
Khan.
That's what I said. So yeah, because that sounds Mongolian.
Yeah, Genghis Khan basically is what we're looking at. So these tribes rely on horses to hunt, travel, fight, everything. So they're like horse tribes, nomadic horse tribes, basically. Again, very, very similar to the Mongols.
Yeah.
Jagatai was found by a small tribe and spent most of his early life just doing normal tribesman stuff, just fighting and hunting, and was just a member of the tribe. Obviously, massive, but still just doing normal stuff.
Normal tribe stuff.
They did view him as special because of his size and his intelligence and stuff, but he just tried to keep it really simple. One of the things that I really like about Jagatai Khan is he seems like the most normal bloke of the Primarchs. He's just like, I'm just doing my thing. It doesn't matter that I'm ginormous and really, really clever. I'm just doing my thing.
And the same as you, we're just doing the same shit. So he sounds like a level-headed dude.
Yeah, he really wasn't that interested in fighting. He had a more interest in what came after the fighting, or why people were fighting. You know, as in what could be built as a result of the fighting.
Oh, yeah. The end product.
Yeah, and that was kind of how his mindset worked. So he would fight, you know, but he wasn't really interested in it. I imagine a lot of it is because it must be really boring. Like if you're massive and really strong and really fast and really skilled,
don't need to
kind
imagine,
of fighting
carry on.
normal dude. Don't need to imagine. Yeah, fighting normal dudes must be pretty boring. It must be like, I don't know. It must be like prime Mike Tyson stepping into a beginner's boxing class and being told to spar with people. You know what I mean? It's like,
and just laying waste to them all.
Yeah, it's going to be boring after a while.
Yeah, I suppose.
That changed slightly when his adoptive father was slain by a rival tribe during a raid. So rival tribe raided his tribe and killed his adoptive father. Jagatai went a bit mad. He gathered all of the warriors that he could find from his tribe, and then found the people who killed his dad and wiped out the tribe completely to a man, like in its entirety, completely wiped them out.
Well, I mean, it's what you get, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can't kill someone's dad and then just go and then not expect comeuppance, should we say? Yeah. I mean, he had a moment of clarity after this, so I think he probably realised he probably took that too far. And he realised that he kind of fallen into the trap of the cycle of violence and, you know, catch-22, you kill my dad, I kill your dad, blah, 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 blah. That old adage of, you know, you kill 100 fathers, you create enemies of 300 sons type sketch. Mm-hmm. So he kind of realised that, and then vowed to unite all the clans and kind of stop that senseless cycle of violence that was going on all over his planet. Yeah, it is a theme, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, it's a well-trodden path, but if you are, like we said before, if you are this peak physical and mental example of a human being, the chances are you're going to get naturally pulled into positions of leadership, aren't you? So so that's what he decided to do. He took an oath to do that, and he did it. It took him 10 years, but he did it.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it took him just over a decade, but he did eventually conquer every settlement and tribe, mainly using light cavalry.
Horseback.
Yeah, so he really lent on conducting fast assaults and then kind of withdrawing and baiting his opponents into a chase and then kind of hitting them on the run.
Nice.
Because he was from a smaller tribe. So he utilised lesser numbers and light cavalry to give him that kind of tactical flexibility and kind of just put his faith in the individual skill of his warriors and his tactics to take on opponents much, much greater in number.
Makes sense. Clever guy.
Yeah. And as a result, he became an absolute expert in that tactic. So when he met the Emperor, obviously, again, you know, if word gets out that a planet's been united, all the other shenanigans, and I'm sure the fact that they're all warp touched, the Emperor's got his spidey senses for where they are and things. The Emperor kind of was really impressed by how he was as a person and the port he'd kind of grown into, but Jagatai kind of regarded the Emperor from a very practical viewpoint. He was like, the Emperor is just a really powerful warlord who was uniting humanity. Effectively, what he was trying to do on a small scale on the planet, the Emperor's trying to do galaxy-wide. So basically it was like, yeah, I'm into that, I'll do that. So he just jumped on board. He found, luckily for him, he found that his legion were kind of similar in terms of their tactics to he was. They liked bikes and jet bikes and that fast assault thing. So maybe his leaning towards doing that on Jagoras was genetic, because his sons have picked up the same trait of, you know, conducting these lightning attacks. But he's very level-headed, practical, deliberate, and tactically excellent. But his probably standout feature is that he just doesn't have an ego.
Yeah, he sounds like a cool dude, to be fair.
Yeah, but unfortunately, doesn't make for great storytelling. So his appearances throughout the lore, it's the same for the White Scars in general, really. They aren't a really prominent chapter because they're a little bit normal.
Yeah, I suppose. Not as interesting as others.
No. And he's really, really capable and would kick a lot of the other Primarchs' ass, don't get me wrong, but he's not the guy. So as a result, he doesn't maybe get as much screen time as you'd probably like.
Oh, yeah, people get upset about that, don't they, I think?
Yeah.
Because even if in the new Armageddon thing that's coming out, you know, I've seen in the comments, oh, no love for White Scars yet again, stuff like that. And,
yeah.
I can see why people like the chapter, but there's that many of them, you know.
Yeah. Okay, next up.
Okay, The
Sixth Legion, Space Wolves.
Yes, right. So this is where I say that this is the Legion I've chosen.
Well, chapter,
yeah. This is the chapter I've picked as my favourite chapter.
Yes. So Primarch is Leman Russ, as you well know. So he is basically known as the Executioner. He landed on the icy world of Fenris. You probably know this.
Yeah.
It's hostile, frozen world, home to a handful of really tough human communities that lived like barbarian tribes. Very Wolfie Viking in their theming.
They are space Vikings, yeah.
They are space Vikings, yeah. Unfortunately for Russ, his pod missed nearly all of those communities and he landed in the wild, deep frozen wild. So there was no, I've been found by this police person or this knight on horseback or this noble. You didn't get any of that. Oh. Russ instead got found by a Fenrisian wolf, she-wolf, who oddly decided that she was going to raise this weird human alongside her other pups. Standard
Mowgli vibes.
Yeah, very, very Jungle Book Mowgli vibes. Yeah. So he was raised by these pack of wolves. He would hunt with them, so they'd go and raid human settlements and human villages, and Russ would hunt alongside the pack. So you can imagine
that was horrible to go up against, to be fair,
because he's massive, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Fenrisian wolves aren't small either. Then, you know, for people who don't know, don't think of like, oh yeah, it's just a little wolf. These are like Game of Thrones dire wolf size massive wolf.
So as if that isn't scary enough, this dude's running in with them that's 7-8 foot tall, absolutely wild.
Yeah, wouldn't be great.
Wild child. No.
So as you can imagine, it kind of caught the attention of some of the stronger tribes.
Well, it's a giant curveball, isn't it, when a human starts running in with a pack of wolves?
Yeah. So as a result, this strong tribe hunted down the pack. They killed the wolves and they took in Leman Russ.
Was he not annoyed by that?
Probably, but he was behaving like a wolf. So, you know.
He probably looked at his hands and that and then went,
maybe I'm not a wolf.
I'm more like you.
Yeah.
Than I am my old family. Yeah.
But again, though, and what I like about a lot of these stories is there's little bits that give you an insight into like the personality of the Primarch. So Leman Russ was raised by these wolves. At that point in time, he's not an idiot as he grows, so he's going to know, I don't look the same as these, but they're looking after me and that's fine. The wolves were then raiding human villages, and instead of Russ thinking, oh, those people look like me, I should probably go with them, he just enjoyed the fight. So he was like, nah, fuck it, I'm gonna stay with the wolves. This is much cooler. And it gives you a bit of insight into what he's like as a person, really.
Yeah.
But the king of that tribe, like a lot of these other stories, immediately saw that this lad was different because he was ginormous And he'd just been living with Fenrisian wolves for however many years. So he
normal.
took him in and adopted him and named him Leman of the Russ.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where he got his name from. So Russ grew quickly, obviously.
Yeah.
The challenge for him was learning language because he'd been living amongst wolves, but he learned that quickly. Combat, he learned that quickly, with ease. Just everything comes so easily to Primarchs in general. So he was smashing life. He's doing really, really well. What is kind of cool, and one of my favourite things about Russ, is that the kind of tribal culture became a huge part of his personality, and he's one of the few Primarchs who would like properly laugh and sing and joke with members of his tribe, and he probably got on board with it.
Yeah, they drink as well.
Yeah, it's quite cool.
Yeah, because Space Marines, obviously I've learnt a bit of the Space Wolves because that's who I've picked as my chapter to be. But normal alcohol for a Space Marine and the Primarch would do nothing, absolutely nothing. So they have concocted they make their own alcohol that would poison and kill a normal human, but for them it just makes them a bit giddy.
Yeah, he's a proper he's a chaotic social hand grenade, is Leman Russ. He is one of the boys. Lads.
One of the lads, isn't he? Hey?
Yeah. So anyway, as he grew, years went past, he grew into a giant of a man. And if it wasn't obvious already, it became really, really apparent that he was something more than human. And there are accounts of him taking on whole armies on his own, wrestling giant mammoths barehanded. It's just insane. So absolutely no surprise that he was made king when his adoptive father died.
Yeah.
Makes sense. It was all these stories of myth and rumours and stuff that finally reached the Emperor and led him to Fenris. And this is the first account of the Emperor doing something which he does quite a lot later on, where he disguised himself. So he hid himself to look relatively normal. So he did this quite a lot when he went to new places, but he went and saw Russ. Russ refused to bow to the Emperor unless the Emperor could beat him in a contest. That contest was, typical Leman Russ style, an eating contest,
Standard.
A drinking contest,
beer,
and a duel.
Iron.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Russ actually beat the Emperor in the eating and the drinking.
Nailed it.
But the Emperor bested him in the duel, obviously.
Yeah.
Because it's the Emperor, which seemingly was all that Russ really cared about, because the minute the Emperor beat him in the duel, he swore loyalty to the Emperor straight away.
Well, if you can beat me, you're hard, mate. All right, I'll join you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Russ's role effectively is, we talked about each of the Primarchs having their own kind of special thing.
Yeah, they got their own skill set.
Yeah, his is just sheer ferocity. So he is the strongest and most capable fighter by design. He would take a potentially mortal wound to win. He's hugely competitive and committed to winning.
Yeah.
And defeating people. That combined with faultless loyalty made him really, really important to the Emperor. I kind of wonder if that pack mentality that we talked about earlier again is linked to that loyalty, where even though he could see they were only human villagers, he could obviously see that they were human and he was human. He had loyalty to the pack, so
they raised him.
Yeah, so he's kind of, that's again clever by Games Workshop for writing that in when you read between the lines. But yeah, so he's double hard and super loyal. Now, if you've made loads, 18 really strong demigods, it's probably handy to have one of them who's really loyal and has the combat prowess to beat all the other ones.
Yeah, because you could use him for anything.
Yeah,
I think that became a problem, didn't it?
Yeah, that is a tool you want in your toolbox if you're the guy trying to control 18 demi-humans, demigods.
Yeah.
Because if stuff goes sideways, then you can use him.
Yeah,
send him in. 2nd Legion, 11th Legion, send him in. So Russ, over the course of the Crusade and stuff that happened later, which we'll talk about, Russ got used on multiple occasions to basically eliminate Primarch power level beings. He's a beast, literally, in some cases. Cool.
Yeah, absolute beast.
Yeah. You see why I like them. They are cool.
They are cool.
Just too wolfy for me.
Yeah, they are overly wolfy. But I try and look past the overwolves, if you will, and just take them for face value.
Yeah, sure. 7th Legion, the Imperial Fists with the Primarch Rogel Dawn.
The Imperial Fisting, that's also Pornhub. Yeah. But go on.
Yeah. Rogel Dawn. The Defender.
Okay, he's got a title.
Yeah. No, this is just these are my little semi-simple titles for kind of what fits to their background.
You've given him a title.
Yeah. So he landed on a planet called Inwit, which is a tidally locked planet, which meant that basically half of it was desert and half of it was ice.
Brilliant.
Not great. So the people there lived in fortresses below the ice, and the fortresses were like carved into the ice itself. It was too hot to live on the desert side because, it's too hot. Too cold to live all the way around on the cold side because you don't get any sun. So they kind of lived just into the start of the ice sheet, dug down, usual, as you do, just dig into massive ice shelves.
I mean, if it works, it works. You've got to survive. But that is... So no one lives on the surface, essentially?
No.
Everyone just lives under...
Yeah.
All right.
So for Dawn, there's not a huge amount to say for Dawn. Either nothing happened, or when he was asked about his history, the typically stoic Dawn just didn't say a great deal. So his kind of history comparative to the other Primarchs is not a great deal. So he was adopted into the House of Dawn, which was the ruling clan on the planet. So he was landed in royalty's lap.
Another one.
Yeah, lucky guy. So apart from the fact he's living under an ice sheet, that's still going to suck. But yeah.
Oh yeah, you can be as royal as you want, but you're still living a shithole.
Yeah, absolutely. He grew quickly. Again, like all of them, he was bigger, smarter than everybody else. He was a dutiful son to his adoptive family, and he's one of the few Primarchs who kind of remembered his family throughout his life. He still thinks back to his adopted family.
Oh, unlike what's his face, who just chinned him straight off.
Peter Turbo, yeah.
Peter Turbo, yeah. He did not give a shit.
Apart from a very worn, folded photo of his adopted sister, he doesn't care about anybody else.
In his wallet.
Yeah.
Next to his driving license. Yeah.
But the kind of cornerstones of Rogel Dawn are a massive loyalty and a lack of ego.
Well, lack of ego is better than over ego.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of people with huge egos.
Really capable, really talented, but just doesn't really have any ambition. He's not a guy who wants to he doesn't dream about doing incredible things, and he's quite happy with his lot. Yeah.
He's just content. Is he lazy or is he just content?
No, he's not lazy. He's really disciplined. I don't think he needs a lot to kind of tick his box, if that makes sense. He's quite content. Yeah. So he succeeded his adopted father as leader of the planet when he died. Makes sense. But it's kind of is the one bit of his history which is kind of like the crowning moment. Floating above the planet was a huge fortress ship called the Phalanx, which was a massive fortress ship from the Dark Ages technology.
Sounds too close to phallus, but...
Yeah, been floating dormant above the planet for generations.
Why?
It just was. Nobody knew what to do with it. Nobody knew how to get to it. Nobody knew how to fix it. It was just there.
In the orbit.
Kind of, yeah. Oh. So Dawn figured out how to get there and fix it and got it all up and running, which is pretty impressive. He had this kind of natural understanding for fortresses and defenses and systems and the way things worked, like a bit of an engineer type thing. So his kind of rise to fame was that he took his population from living in ice caves to basically becoming a spacefaring empire on board this Phalanx. Still people lived in the ice caves, but they had the capability to do it.
All right, okay. So he basically moved a lot of people from the surface to the ship.
Yes.
And they lived aboard.
But there is a U-turn to this. So the Emperor arrived. Dawn bent the knee straight away, immediately recognising his kind of gene father.
Yeah.
And as a reward, because he was super impressed with what he'd done, Dawn was allowed to retain the Phalanx, which is unusual because normally the Imperium are not so great with stuff from the Dark Ages technology, but he was allowed to keep the Phalanx. Nothing like that has ever been built since. Nothing else is like that anywhere. It's an incredibly powerful fortress ship. and Dawn was allowed to keep it, which he then went on to use as a kind of home for his Space Marines, which meant any of those people he did bring up from Inwit, he kicked back off. Sorry, boys. But yeah, so it's kind of cool that the Imperial Fists have got this huge fortress monastery ship called the Phalanx, which is super, super powerful. But yeah, so Dawn is kind of stoic, resilient, loyal. He's just like a cookie cutter Primarch, you know what I mean? He's got all of the good traits without any of the sprinkling of shenanigans on top of it. You know, he's a little bit like Jagatai Khan, but he doesn't even like motorbikes. He just, I love a castle, me. that's
Look at the stonework on that. Oh, bloody lovely. Yeah. So he's a chill dude who owns a ship that sounds very close to Phallus. And they are known for, you know, building defences and reinforcing stuff. Dawn went on to build the defence. No? Yeah, Dawn went on to build the defences for the palace on Terra. So he knows what he's doing when it comes to building walls and stuff, and that's kind of what he's famed for. But he is viewed by many as being kind of boring and kind of detached because he is so stoic. Apparently he was quite funny for people that were close to him. He was supposed to had a bit of a sense of humour and stuff, but he never really showed it anywhere else. So a lot of his other brothers thought he was quite standoffish, and you know, as you would, because he just never switched off. Yeah, well, I mean, each their own, I suppose, but they don't get much love, do they? I don't think.
No.
They're
another one. They're oddly, what's funny, and we'll talk about it when we cover chapters in a later episode, but oddly, the Imperial Fists are actually in the shadow of one of their successor chapters, the Black Templar. The Black Templar are probably more popular and more covered than the Imperial Fist are.
I've heard more about them.
Cool. Right, so 8th Legion.
Number 8. We're getting there.
Night Lords.
Night Lords?
Their Primarch is a guy called Conrad Kurz. Who I am calling the Psycho Batman.
Okay, the last guy just got the Defender. This one's Psycho Batman.
Yeah, you'll see why. So
Conrad
he landed.
Kurz also sounds like a Marvel superhero at some point.
Yeah, a little bit, doesn't it?
The whole double name, yeah.
So it's Conrad with a K though, because he's edgy.
I can't see that.
I know, but I'm letting you know.
Right, so Conrad Kurz. Okay.
So he landed on the nocturnal world of Nostramo, which is a corrupt, mineral-rich mining world. So the other guy, Fulgrim, landed on a resource-poor, mineral-poor.
Had absolutely nothing.
Yeah, this guy, mineral-rich, but it's all corrupt.
Oh, okay.
Because the people in power are absolutely abusing everybody else because all they want them to do is mine the minerals that are all over this world. So on this planet, normal folks suffered due to the demands of industry. Most people have never even seen sunlight because it's a nocturnal world, and the poorest people couldn't even afford artificial light, so they lived most of their lives in darkness.
So was their skin like dead white in that?
Yeah, really, really pale. And they lived, like I said, lived most of their lives in darkness. Conrad's pod broke through the thin surface because this planet's been mined to death. It can barely support itself, so when it landed, it smashed straight through the kind of upper crust and landed deep in the mines of the planet. And he grew up basically alone and feral. So he was hunting the weird kind of subterranean creatures that lived in the mines and only really observing humans from a distance. So being a Primarch, developed really strong night vision, so they couldn't really see him, but he could see them.
He's like a hench golem.
Yeah.
At this point, my precious and all that.
Yeah, so Psycho Golem Batman is what I've changed his nickname.
Noted.
But from his observation of humans from a distance, basically what he saw all over the planet was crime and injustice.
Yeah.
So
I guess he didn't like that.
No. He wasn't raised by anybody, but he still kind of had a grasp of the fundamentals of right and wrong. So he could see that, could kind of see and understood what was going on. So as he got bigger, which didn't take very long, petty criminals started to be found like completely gutted in the streets.
Oh, he's not clean with his work then.
No, and then the next stage for that was then sort of prominent leaders and corrupt officials were starting to get found hanging, completely disemboweled.
Oh, for God's sake. Yeah, you're right about the feral bit.
Yeah. And as a result, this is where Batman comes in. As a result, crime began to drop because a myth of the Night Haunter was beginning to spread all across the population.
Well done, Gollum Batman.
Yeah, with mothers warning their children, oh, you've got to behave, otherwise the Night Haunter will get you, and all that sort of stuff. So it's transformed into this horrible myth.
Yeah.
But
it worked.
He lives on a planet where it's night all the time. So you can imagine how terrifying that would be.
Yeah, you could get jumped at any moment. Be good.
Yeah. You imagine how much more effective Batman would be if it was night all the time in Gotham.
I mean, he does do a lot of his stuff at night, to be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But he had the benefit of being a billionaire, though, in the day.
Yeah, that's true.
Whereas this prick didn't, did he? He was just a feral beast.
Crime in the city had reduced massively, so Conrad decided to reveal himself as the Night Haunter and ended up taking his place as the monarch of the city.
Well, that was a swift turnaround, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think, I think everybody was pretty scared at that point.
Yeah.
Like, if a guy turns up, he's massive. He's pale, people. He's got this long jet black hair. He's bigger, faster, stronger than anything you've ever seen, and he's claiming that he's the guy that's been butchering everybody who's ever done anything wrong. You probably would go, yeah, he could probably be the monarch of this, actually.
If you want. It's up to you.
Yeah.
No pressure. Not forcing you. You do what you want to do, mate.
Yeah, so he used that position to start gathering knowledge and to understand how things worked, because obviously he'd been on his own, so his interpersonal skills weren't great, so he could lead his people fairly and justly. So that all sounds good, right?
It sounds great.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Problem is, then the nightmares started. So Conrad had the gift of foresight.
Is it a gift?
So he had, not for him. So he, unfortunately, would regularly dream of like a dark and terrifying future that also included his own death.
Oh.
So it kind of sent him on a bit of a spiral, and it resulted in him kind of starting to rule through fear rather than trying to uplift people and stuff. He was utilising the fear to lead.
Yeah.
Which not great really, but the guy was like spiraling off of these foresight dreams that he was having. He just couldn't. I don't know. Imagine you had the same repeating dream every single night. It would drive you mad, wouldn't it?
Who's to say I don't, Jay?
Well, yeah, maybe. But yeah, so he wasn't like psychologically not in a great place. When the Emperor turned up and found him, he told Conrad that he was here to take him home. How lovely.
Ah, nice.
Conrad stated that I've already seen what you're going to do with me, Mr. Emperor Dude, but I also acknowledge that I don't really have a choice. So he pledged his loyalty. Oh,
not willingly, really.
I wouldn't say willingly, but not unwillingly either.
Yeah.
I think he kind of, I think he sort of realised he didn't really have much choice.
What's coming is coming.
Yeah. So his legion was mostly made up of criminals from Terra, which, ironically, considering the guy kind of built his reputation on killing criminals, so he wasn't hugely happy about that. So he tried to add to the recruits from the kind of most noble of the population of Nostramus, of his planet. Unfortunately, he was tricked by the kind of nobles and ended up being given more criminals, which he didn't know about. So they ended up, the Legion kind of ended up devolving into using terror tactics, and they were really horrendously violent, but they weren't horrendously violent against military forces. It was general population who were uprising, or they were rebels, or they were refusing compliance, or whatever it was. And then his Legion were using these mad terror tactics to try and weaponize fear effectively, to break the kind of morals and the being of normal folk.
Oh damn!
Which wasn't hugely popular.
No, I can see why.
Yeah, and then he found out that he'd been tricked, and that the people that he thought were in his Legion that were nobles were also more criminals, and that just sent him over the edge even more. The dreams got worse, everything got worse, and even though he's being called out on his bullshit a little bit by his kind of brothers and by the Primarchs, he just kind of became more secretive about how they were doing things. This guy is not a leader or a general or a strategist. He didn't grow up with anyone. She's completely kind of solo and even operates in the field kind of solo and encourages the Night Lords to kind of do the same thing. He's just a straight up murdering killer who, unfortunately for everybody else, is in the form of a kind of armor-clad demigod. So hence the Psycho Batman.
Yeah, he is fucked up in the head.
Yeah, when we do the Space Marine chapters and we get to dig deep into the Night Lords, they are horrendous. And it's, a lot of it comes from him. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, so he's messed up and his entire people are criminals. Go.
Yeah.
Doesn't bode well, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Okay, so he's fucked up. The Ninth Legion,
Blood Angels. My favourite.
So this is your favourite, isn't it? You've took a while, seeing as you are the expert in the podcast, shall we say, comparatively to me. I chose mine. It took me a while, to be fair. It took me a while to choose the Space Wolves, and Blood Angels were second on my list. But you've been a 40k fan for a while.
Yes, so since I was a kid, on and off.
Yeah, so it's taken you this long to choose.
Yeah. I flip-flopped quite a lot.
You flip-flopped.
I like them all. Yeah. I like them all. But
they've all got there.
Blood Angels.
You have settled, haven't you, on the Angels of Blood?
Yeah, mainly for the person we're going to talk about right now, who is Sanguinius, the Primarch of the Blood Angels, the Angel, the perfect son.
The Angel himself, yes.
Yeah. So
he's a cool dude.
Yeah, he is. He's a super cool dude, but he is the perfect son. He is the closest for. Do you know the term a Mary Sue?
No, but maybe the listeners do.
So a Mary Sue or a Gary Sue for a bloke is someone who can kind of just ticks all the boxes of everything and seems like too perfect. That is Sanguinius.
I feel like you just made that up. I'm not going to lie to you.
Oh, okay.
If you've heard of Mary Sue, then write it in the comments. If you haven't, also write it in the comments. Let's see who's right here.
Yeah. Well, Sanguinius landed on the radiation-soaked planet of Baal.
Yes.
So Baal is dominated by hordes of mutant tribes and then groups of humans who are struggling to fight for what little resources remained on the planet. It's not great. Not great.
No.
Like his brothers. Planet. Yeah, absolutely. Like his brothers, he grew quickly, and he was bigger and stronger than the people of Baal in his first few years. Slight difference. Sanguinius had grown wings.
Normal.
Yeah, like proper, strong enough for him to fly wings.
Why did he grow wings?
No one really knows. So
is it the radiation?
Yeah, so no one's sure if it's a mutation caused by Baal or if it was a genetic design.
Because this is where it gets a bit grey, doesn't it? Because the Imperium of Man as a whole, they are not a fan of mutations or, for lack of a better terminology, freaks.
Yeah, not in the early days, no. So it's kind of a little bit counter the norm.
Yeah.
That he was so accepted and so revered, considering the guy's got wings.
Yeah, and that's clearly not normal. So
yeah,
he used to hate mutants and stuff. So I mean, fuck it out. Professor Xavier and the X-Men would be fucked in the 40k universe, wouldn't they?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. There's no room for that.
No, not at all.
So grown wings, brilliant.
Yeah.
We don't know why, but he's got wings. He can fly.
He looks cool though.
He also had really strong psychic abilities, which basically enabled him to see the future.
Oh, okay.
And also, he was super handsome. Like, looks like an angel. Blonde hair, chiseled features, looked incredible. So when I said Gary Sue, perfect in everything, this guy is super tall, super strong, has wings, can fly, is psychic, can see the future, and is super handsome.
Is that a personal thing? Do you find him handsome, or is that in the law?
Everybody does. Okay. Everybody does.
Just making sure. I don't know what you're...
like in the... It's not my perception, it is in the law.
If it was like a little kink or something.
Yeah, I've got a weird Sanguinius kink. No, it's in the law that he... I remember reading one of the books that people said it was almost hard to look at him because of how his face looked.
That's what my wife says, but not in a good way.
Yeah, like the opposite. Yeah. The opposite to what your wife's... No, I'm joking.
Yeah.
The opposite.
No, you're right.
Yeah, it's really weird. So, yeah.
I'm going to put in again, because I'm a dick.
Go on.
The other Primarch, the Perfectionist,
Fulgrim.
shit name.
Yeah.
Is he jealous of? You reckon he'll be jealous of the looks of Sanguinius?
Yeah, I'm sure. Again, can't remember which, but I'm sure somewhere even Fulgrim remarks on how Sanguinius looks.
Yeah, he must be jealous as fuck.
Yeah.
I just thought then he must be, mustn't he? Mr. Perfect. Yeah. Oh, look at this
I don't
chiseled jaw.
I imagine it as, let's think of it this way. So you are, let's say, the best looking chick in your town meets the best looking chick in the world.
Yeah.
Like, the best looking chick in your town is still really, really pretty and really, really attractive and gets treated differently because they're really, really pretty and really, really attractive, and knows that they're really, really pretty and really attractive because they're surrounded by people who are less pretty and less attractive.
Yeah.
And then they meet somebody who is more pretty and more attractive than them. It's got to be that feeling, I imagine, between Fulgrim and Sanguinius.
Yeah, it must be like a guy in a club, wherever, best looking guy in a club, thinking he's all that, swinging his big dick around, all the chicks are flocking to him, and then prime Brad Pitt walks in.
Yeah.
He's going to be best.
Bad times, yeah, probably.
They are flying, aren't they? They are flocking to Brad Pitt now.
And Brad Pitt with angel wings.
You throw the wings on Pitt, prime Pitt. Oh my god. Yeah. I see where your
And
head's
he can
at.
see the future. So he knows everything that you're going to say and everything that you're going to answer, and can speak to you in a way that means you end up basically doing exactly what he wants you to do, because he can glimpse the future and see what's coming. Like, it's just stupid. It's just stupid.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So he's a cool dude. Good looking guy.
He's a cool dude. He's a cool guy. So he, like all the other ones, he kind of raised quickly through his society, and then ended up leading his tribe. He led them to countless victories over these mutant armies, and basically secured the future of the humans on the planet, even though the conditions on the planet were still pretty awful. He's good, but he can't cure irradiated sand. You know what I mean? Like, it's still going to be a radioactive planet. It just means that you're not being hunted and killed by
freaks,
mutant weirdos, because he got rid of them. Yeah. So the Emperor arrived in disguise again, because that's what the Emperor does. But Sanguinius knew he was coming, because Sanguinius.
Yeah, so
he'd seen him in his dreams. He knew he was coming.
Oh, his daddy.
Yeah. Oddly, he didn't drop to his knees immediately like some of the others did. He didn't challenge him to a duel or a contest or anything.
Did he fly up in the air and say, "Got these, have you, mate"?
No.
Got
for
these
the first time, he bargained with the Emperor of Mankind.
Oh, what did he want?
He basically, acknowledging what you said before, he wanted the people of Baal to be spared in return for his service. He understood, from what he'd seen through his psychic shenanigans, how the Imperium viewed mutants, and how what they would likely do to the people of Baal, because they would probably just assume they're all mutants, we'll get rid of them.
Incinerate.
Scrub the planet clean. So Sanguinius bartered with the Emperor to say, I'll come and do what you want me to do, but leave the people of Baal alone.
Oh, fair play. That's a good gesture.
Yeah. Told you he was a cool guy.
Yeah, I mean, some of the other Primarchs. See you later, planet, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and then the other
thing, now, and I'll watch the planet burn from a distance in his ship.
The other thing he did is he asked the Emperor, "What if I said no?" So again, it gives you a real insight into what Sanguinius is like as a person. That his first priority was securing the people who'd helped raise him and that he'd helped, he'd lived with for all these years.
The planet, and
But then also, what will you do, Big E, Daddy Boy, if I said, no, actually, I'm just going to stay here and keep doing my thing? The Emperor replied, kind of quite curtly, you won't. because
confidence.
Because you care about humanity, and what I'm trying to do is save humanity. Which was absolutely right. Sanguinius was like, no, he's got me down to a T here, and swore filthy, and kind of the rest is history. My favourite moment, one of the coolest moments for me, is when Sanguinius met his legion. So they were called the Revenant Legion, and they were like the Ginger Step Kid. Sorry, any ginger people, but Ginger Step Kid of the legions. They were real feral legion. They developed this reputation for eating their enemies, and
normal.
Not all of them, but it's just like eating the flesh and drinking blood and stuff. And it was all really quite dark, and they weren't very good. Like, they were just being used as a really big angry meat grinder all the time. They were just rubbish, really. Like, comparatively to how effective the other Space Marine legions were.
But why were they eating the flesh?
It's a genetic flaw that comes from Sanguinius. We'll cover that later. But I don't want to steal. Yeah, I don't want to. All of there's genetic flaws in all of the Primarchs, effectively, nearly all of them. Sanguinius is really, really prominent. But we'll cover that later. I don't want to steal my own sandwiches. So yeah, so when he met his legion, a lot of the other Primarchs met the legion, got the legion to swear fealty to them as a Primarch. Hence, Lionel Johnson having to go off and duel people and stuff.
Yeah.
Sanguinius didn't. Sanguinius did it the other way, where he swore loyalty and swore an oath to his legion to serve them and lead them, and he over the coming years of the Crusade properly turned the Ninth Legion, the Revenant Legion, now the Blood Angels, around into a really well respected and well thought of Space Marine chapter, rather than, because like I said, they were nobody wanted to fight alongside them, nobody wanted to work with them. They had a really bad reputation everywhere before Sanguinius kind of took the lead. But it's I highly recommend reading his book, where they talk about him meeting his legion. It's in the rain. It's really kind of dramatic and thematic in terms of how they described it. But yeah, he swore an oath to his legion that he would serve them and kind of lead them.
And then he turned them around.
And he turned them around, yeah.
From shit to good.
And then they became my favourites.
Eventually.
My wife.
You took your time.
Yeah.
Nice. So that is the Ninth Legion.
That is.
Now, the intention of this was to smash through every Legion, but we're only on the 9th.
Yeah.
And we're over an hour. So what we're going to do, dear listeners, is we're going to stop it here. And we're going to do the back 9 in the next episode. I think that's the plan, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was always going to be a chunky subject and we've only skimmed. You know what I mean? We could have deep dived on all of these. That's
what I mean. We are just skimming, like when you throw a stone on the surface. That's all we're doing. But the stone's going for quite a while, so we're going to have to stop here, and we're going to have to continue it in episode 4. So we're going to leave it there for now. So thank you very much for listening. Don't forget to follow, subscribe, all that bollocks. And we'll catch you in part 2 of the Primarchs, where we do the back 9. Keep saying back 9 a lot, don't I? Nothing from my co-host. Okay, so should we leave it there?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say something.
No, you said it all. I've got nothing left to say.
Okay, I'll stop.
You're going to repeat the same shit.